This dawn, let's explore an excerpt from Yong-jia Xuan-jue's Song of Enlightenment. And then let's meditate. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is brought to you by the kind-hearted folks who help support this channel on Patreon. This dawn, we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two. But first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as transformatively as Obi-Wan Kenobi upon the sands of Tatooine under the guidance of Qui-Gon Jinn, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. Good news. If at any point during this dawn live stream you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation or Buddhist philosophy or how to apply them to your life, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. Due to the luck of the draw, today we have a double or triple portion of our practice text. That's the only way it really makes sense in a satisfying way. And of course, I forgot to enter in the chanting notation, so I'm going to add that right now, because it would appear that I am a day late and $1 short. I have continued my zazen for many aeons. I do not say this to confuse you. And then he's going to go and purposely try to confuse you. But that's okay. He'll resolve it in the end. I raise the Dharma banner and set forth our teaching. It is the clear doctrine of the Buddha, which I found with my teacher Huining. Forgive my pronunciation. That's a reference to the six patriarch, and the irony is he really wasn't his teacher. His teacher was the scriptures and the sutras, and he had a very simple meditation technique, which was notice and release. And he only had one interview with Huining, where Huining said, "You're not a Buddha," and which he said, "Yes, I am, you're an idiot." So that's it. Let's see where this continues. Mahakashyapa became the Buddha's successor, received the lamp and passed it on. Okay, that is a Zen myth. There's really no evidence of that for or against. 28 generations of teachers in India, the Novaseas and rivers to all land. Bodhidharma came as our own first founder, and his robe, as we all know, passed through 6 teachers here. So this is the second bit of this section, nailing him to a place and time. This is the time when the 6th Chinese patriarch of Zen is still alive. Let's continue. Out how many generations to come may gain the path no one knows. Now remember, this passage began with, I've continued my zazen for many aeons. So, because a great teacher does not just regurgitate random facts, they usually drive to points. So whose point will be unearthed in this paragraph. The truth is not set forth, the false is basically vacant. So, we're coming back to, we're returning to a recurring theme in this treatise. Truth is not obvious, false is not graspable. Put both existence and non-existence aside, and then even non-vacancy is vacant. So he's playing games with duality, which is not uncommon. So whatever we perceive during every time we exhale, we wind up letting go of whatever we noticed during the previous inhalation. So in other words, everything that is perceived can be released. The 20 kinds of vacancy have no basis, and the oneness of the Tathagata being is naturally sameness. So, when you plant these two passages together, we're basically being taught, and this is an idea that's explored by some Dzogchen luminaries as well. The idea of timelessness. Meditation as a means to an end is as foolish as making love as a means to orgasm. Now, is orgasm pleasurable? Yes. Are we wired to experience pleasure from orgasm? Yes. But we are as humans, we are armed with more than just a dopamine-oriented reward circuit. We have a secondary circuit that is oxytocin-oriented. And where dopamine is pleasure-oriented, oxytocin is fulfillment-oriented. So if someone makes love with their partner, if two individuals are making love in a completely content way, and from a place of centered spontaneity, and respect, and love, and just making love for its own sake, with no goals in mind, they're going to have a really fulfilling time. If the only reason they're making love is because it's a mad sprint towards orgasm, they're going to experience great frustration in life. This has been explored by many philosophers and authors for many, 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 many centuries. But the same holds true with enlightenment. It could be argued that liberation is merely the practice of the Eightfold Path, and enlightenment is simply the mastery of the Eightfold Path. And you can master anything, tying your shoes, making peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Mastery just means you're so good at a skill set that you practice that skill set spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. So, according to the Buddha, once you have your ducks in a row and you are comfortable with sitting in meditation for an hour or so, then you can master his teachings in about a week. So when people tell you it takes multiple aeons, it's because their stuff isn't working, or they're terrible teachers, or both. However, if the only reason you practice the Buddha's teachings is not because you want peace, and not because you want the world to be a better place, but just because you're chasing a goal, then peace will forever elude you. Like the man with a pole strapped to his head from the tip, and with a carrot dangling from the tip of the pole, forever out of his reach. In whichever direction he runs, the carrot is always out of reach. That is a remarkably efficient way of squandering one's life. So, what if Zazen, what if sitting in meditation was not a means to an end? What if it was an end unto itself? What if it is something we are wired to do? There are ways to practice it that are more or less efficient, more or less beneficial, more or less pleasurable. We practice it as its own reward, like breathing, or urinating, or defecating, or eating. Things that we have to do. We're wired to do them. No one ever urinates with a specific goal in mind. And it's something that's just part of how we evolved. My partner is a whiz in the kitchen, and sometimes when she is in a creative momentum, the kitchen gets cluttered. When she's done with her project, she or both of us clean up. She has no goal in the cleaning up. It's just something that makes her feel comfortable and happy within the kitchen. Take the most messy kid playing with his Legos in his bedroom. In the midst of a construction project, there may be pieces everywhere. But eventually, even he will injure his feet stepping on Lego pieces as he tries to exit his room. Even the messy kid will at least clear a path to the door, So there are things we do that are quite effective without lofty goals. And so the greatest direct goal of meditation is simply peace. And the greatest fringe benefit of meditation is simply empathy. As we sit in meditation, as we let go of the here, as we let go of the now, we could feel like we are in a timeless state. What Mipom Rinpoche described as the vast expanse of timeless space. In that place, doctrine doesn't make sense. Tenets are no longer relevant. The Four Noble Truths are no longer relevant. You're just noticing and releasing, because that is what we have evolved to do. And living in harmony with those biological imperatives, with those neurological imperatives, is the quick path of peace. Not to peace, but of peace. It doesn't take us to peace. The very path itself is peaceful. I found that if I meditate right before bed, sitting upright outside the bedroom, in the living room, then the dreams I experience that night are more vivid, more easily recalled. That if I don't meditate, although I may dream, I do not recall them. It could be argued that as meditation becomes more and more a staple of our life becomes richer and more vivid. And so, contrary to the myth that one meditates to escape life, it turns out the opposite is what's going on. And meditation helps us to tune into life effortlessly and with great clarity. Before we start this morning's chanting and meditation practice, well, let's see. Yeah, let's take a minute or two for some Chinese Qigong. You don't have to follow along with me, but you're welcome to. Please stand with a subtle bend in your knees. You don't want your legs locked. Just allow your feet to stand at approximately foot width apart. If that's not comfortable, find a comfortable place. Let's start with swinging your arms out and up and then flapping them down. And your gaze can follow your hands. Let's reverse that. Let's flap the arms up and swing the arms down. Let's set the swing aside and just lift our hands like an elevator to the sky. Now let's set the flapping of the arms aside and invite the elevator to go up and down. Let's assume a wider... oh yes, I thought I remembered this. For those of us with bad backs, let's perform this exercise with the utmost of gentleness. Let's raise up upon the major and minor ball of our foot. The major ball of the foot corresponds to the big toe. The minor ball corresponds to the little toe. And let's gently set our heel back down. If you want, you can create Vajra fists and place them in the proximal area of your kidneys, but that's optional. Now let's assume a wide stance. Let's hunker down and gently, as we exhale, stretch. this next exercise I love. It makes me feel like, you know, a badass from an action movie. With our hands, we assume a gesture where the index finger is pointing and everything else is kind of bent inwards. And armed with this invisible pistol, our arms cross, and as we squat down, we pretend we are pulling a bow. Stand. Final 3 exercises. One we just played with, and that is do a ridiculously yet sustainably deep squat. While both feet are on the floor, shift to one side, and on that one side do a squat. Some people jump, I like to slide because I'm fragile. Give your body permission to spontaneously move and adjust itself. We turn now to our practice text, or sadhana, if you're nasty. I like to begin and end my meditation with a very short chant. This opening chant, it gives us an opportunity to exercise the neural pathways that are responsible for empathy and enthusiasm, the second and the sixth folds of the Eightfold Path. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. We come now to mindfulness and meditation, which are together as a team are known by many phrases, such as Zen, Chan, Dhyana, Mahamudra, Ati Yoga, Dzogchen, and Trekcho. So Dhyana is just a way of saying level. Chan and Zen are just different ways to pronounce Dhyana. Mahamudra means great seal. That refers to emptiness, which as we experience every time we... Well, I'm going to explain that right now. Mahamudra, the great seal of reality, is emptiness. The emptiness that we experience as we relax... The emptiness, so in other words, every time we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void, like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although is tantalizing to the eye, is intangible to the hand. Ati Yoga means utmost yoga, or the yoga of no yoga. Dzogchen means great completion. Trekcho means slice through. Despite the grandiosity of the names, the technique is simple. Physically emulate this photograph of a statue in the center of the screen. When it comes to respiration, many have found it helpful that the in-breath be shorter and the out-breath be longer, that the in-breath be sharper and the out-breath be softer. Therefore, I'm using notation that is monosyllabic and polysyllabic. Mentally, I recommend silently and mentally using the demonstrative pronoun this, silently and mentally reciting it every time we breathe in, because every inhalation is wired to effortlessly access our sympathetic nervous system, which has evolved not to actively concentrate, but instead to practice mindfulness, to notice how vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. During each inhalation, we can notice a whole array of things. We can notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. We could emote, intend, reason, recall, or imagine. We can notice the external or the internal, the physical or the mental, the pleasurable or the painful, the interesting or the boring, the glorious or the grotesque. What are we to do with all that stuff? Every time we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite the 3-syllable verb relaxing. And with each exhalation, we are wired to effortlessly access our autonomic nervous system, which has evolved to both physically relax as well as mentally release. So there's nothing artificial going on. We're not trying to force our body or mind to do something it has not evolved to do. Au contraire. Forcing our body and mind to do things it was not designed to do is the path of yang. It's the path of being rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, competitive, and cruel. But stepping out of our own way and allowing our body and mind to do what they have evolved to do is the path of yin, is the path of matriarchy, is the path of being flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, cooperative, and kind. We are simply, as we sit here in meditation, aligning our intention with the factory settings of our autonomic nervous system. One last thing. In the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you'll read a phrase. First collection of 16 sets of 16 rounds. Actually, that should be the other way. It should be collection of 16 rounds of 16 sets. That's much better. And one last time. Well, that was great fun for me. So, what is this? Oh boy. Was that an error I just made? Yes, it was an error I just made. Okay, so there we go. So what is a round? When I was in junior high and I began experimenting with working out, I was introduced to the concepts of repetitions and sets and told to do 3 sets of 10 repetitions, as if that was the magic ratio. In meditation, instead of using the term repetitions, we use the term rounds. Rounds described 1 inhalation followed by 1 exhalation. We can count 16 rounds on the 4 fingers and 1 thumb of our left hand. During each inhalation, and only during the inhalation, we can advance the thumb. And so in a rapid version, because hopefully we're not breathing this fast, we could breathe, count 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We could count 16 sets of 16 rounds on our right hand. 16 sets of 16 rounds is 1 collection of 256 breaths. Is this some sort of a mystical thing? No. This was inspired from observing an aging Bengali, so I sometimes refer to this as Bengali crease counting. Many people choose to set a timer. They use a consecutive, they line up 3 sets of incense, and they assume each incense burns for 20 minutes. They light the first stick. When that burns down, they light the second stick. When that burns down, they light the third stick. They might describe that as a Bronze Age style of timer, but it's still a timer. Other people use a timer on their smartphone, but that's still a timer. I really like using Bengali crease counting. Maybe it's because I have a lot of brain damage. Maybe it's because I have autism, or because I have ADHD. But I found this really helps me a great deal. Am I gonna kick down your front door and make you meditate the way I do? No, that sounds exhausting. But if you wish to do what I do, you are welcome to. Let's meditate. There are some people who boast that when they sit and meditate, they perceive nothing. That is tragic. The first enlightenment factor is mindfulness. Without perception of the internal or the external, mastery of the path cannot be attained. Let us start in on our second collection of 16 sets of 16 rounds. Let us seal this morning, let us seal dawn's practice with wishing love. May everyone be free from suffering, may everyone be happy. May no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging, freed. If you feel that I have earned it, you could type something in the chat window. You could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could share it with a friend. You could even help support this channel on Patreon. Either way, in approximately 2.5 hours, I intend to return to lead today's morning meditation. Until then, may you and yours be happy and healthy. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.